Trump bans Burkina Faso. Why Ibrahim Traoré saw this coming. Hello everyone, and welcome back. A travel ban is never just about travel. It's about permission. It's about hierarchy. It's about who gets to move freely and who is expected to wait, explain, and comply. In January 2026, the United States expanded entry restrictions that include Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. On paper, it looks administrative, technical, routine. But politics rarely operates only on paper. These three countries are not random names on a list. They are the core of the Alliance of Sahel States, a bloc that has openly challenged old arrangements around security, resources, and alignment. And at the center of that challenge stands Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. Tonight, we're not here for slogans or outrage. We're here to understand what this decision really tests, what it signals about power, and what it demands from a project that says it's building sovereignty, not just talking about it. Stay with me. Official explanations point to familiar language: screening, vetting, cooperation. Every state has the right to manage its borders. That much is obvious, but mature analysis doesn't stop at what is possible. It asks whether a policy is consistent, complete, and applied in a way that matches reality. So let's ask the calm question. Are Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger directing threats toward American territory? Are they exporting danger across oceans? The security challenges in the Sahel are real, but they are overwhelmingly regional. For years, Western governments argued the opposite posture, that the Sahel required engagement and partnership to prevent instability from spreading. Now the response shifts to isolation. That shift is the signal, because even when a policy is broad, its symbolism can be specific. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are tied together by more than geography. They are tied together by a political story, coordination, defiance of old patrons, and an attempt to build alternatives. In global politics, stories matter as much as statutes. This is why the ban lands differently on these countries than on others. Power, historically, controls three things: money, movement, and meaning. Control the flow of capital, and you shape development. Control movement, and you shape networks. Who studies, who trades, who collaborates. Control meaning, and you shape how reality is narrated. A travel ban sits squarely inside that architecture. It doesn't look dramatic, which is why it works. It affects students who would have studied and returned with skills, entrepreneurs who would have met partners and returned with contracts, families, diaspora ties, informal diplomacy. And it sends a quiet signal to investors and institutions. This space carries friction. In global systems, perception often becomes reality faster than truth. This is where pride alone becomes insufficient. Pride is human, but pride is not policy. Sovereign states do not react emotionally, they calculate, and the Alliance of the Sahel states must calculate. That calculation begins with a hard distinction: symbolic sovereignty versus operational sovereignty. Symbolic sovereignty is flags, anthems, speeches, and ceremonies, while security arrangements, currencies, contracts, extraction terms, and narratives remain designed elsewhere. You are independent in form, dependent in function. Operational sovereignty is different. It's about levers. Who protects you? Who trains you? Who finances you? Who extracts value? Who sets terms? Who decides alliances? Now look honestly at what the AES has been attempting. Joint security coordination, new financial structures meant to reduce reliance on external gatekeepers, a shared narrative platform to speak as a bloc rather than as isolated states. These are not perfect moves, but they are meaningful moves because they threaten leverage. And here is the uncomfortable truth: power does not only punish success, it punishes deviation. That's why leaders matter, not as personalities, but as symbols of direction. Ibrahim Traoré, alongside leaders in Mali and Niger, did not rise in calm conditions. They rose from failure, security failure, legitimacy failure, and popular frustration. Their legitimacy comes less from external recognition and more from defiance of it. This changes how pressure works. If your legitimacy depends on approval, pressure can break you. If your legitimacy depends on resisting approval, pressure can be reframed as confirmation. Narrative becomes fuel. But here's the trap, and it's important. Defiance is not a development plan. Defiance does not generate electricity, schools, jobs, irrigation, or hospitals. Defiance can mobilize people for a season. Only institutions can keep people for a generation. That is the real test of the AES. Look at the pattern. When Burkina Faso publicly rejected arrangements it judged incompatible with dignity, friction followed. Procedural tightening, reduced access, increased inconvenience. Not announced as punishment, but felt as pressure. This is modern leverage. Quiet, bureaucratic, effective. If a country is considered unreliable for normal movement, why is it acceptable as a destination for obligations imposed from above? That contradiction doesn't require conspiracy. It requires recognizing hierarchy. Passports are not just paper, they are rank. Now, some will say, America needs Africa more than Africa needs America. There is emotion and truth in that sentiment, but it can mislead if handled carelessly. Resources alone do not equal power. Control over value does. Exporting raw materials while importing finished goods creates dependence, not leverage. Across the Sahel, efforts to renegotiate extraction terms and increase state participation are not abstract ideology. They are the real battlefield. Contracts are power relationships frozen on paper, and when those papers are challenged, reactions follow. So what are the options? First, reciprocity. It can signal dignity, but it must be precise, not impulsive. Blunt reactions can damage channels still needed during capacity building. If reciprocity is chosen, it must be surgical, strategic, and calculated. Second, negotiation. Negotiation is not begging, but leverage matters. Without alternatives, negotiation becomes confession. So negotiation only works when substitutes are being built in parallel. Third, and this is the only route that deserves the word sovereignty, build the substitutes and let policy follow. This is where romance must end and governance must begin. A joint force is a start, not a solution. A regional bank is a start, not a solution. A shared media platform is a start, not a solution. What makes them real is discipline, oversight, audits, procurement integrity, professional standards, accountability. Here is the hard truth many movements avoid. You cannot defeat external pressure with internal disorder. If corruption persists, pressure will hurt more than it should. If mismanagement persists, new institutions become new theaters of waste. If rule by decree persists, popular patience erodes. Sovereignty is not anti-West. Sovereignty is self-mastery. In a multipolar world, exploitation does not disappear. It changes accents. If institutions are weak, every partner finds a way to become your landlord. That's why the AES must define itself not by who it opposes, but by what it produces. Modern discipline rarely arrives with soldiers. It arrives with ratings, access, paperwork, and delay. And it targets the future, students, networks, opportunity flows. A competent state is not defeated by a travel ban. An unprepared one is exposed by it. So the real exam is simple and brutal. If access narrows tomorrow, can institutions still function? If donors turn away, can hospitals still run? If headlines sour, can production continue? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the exam papers of sovereignty. So this travel ban is not the end of anything. It is a message. Not we hate you, but we still believe we can shape your options. The correct response is not tears, not celebration, not noise. The correct response is competence. For Ibrahim Traoré, for Burkina Faso, and for the Alliance of Sahel States, this is a defining moment, not of posture, but of governance. If sovereignty is to mean anything beyond speeches, it must be built into institutions that outlive leaders and withstand pressure. Because sovereignty is not a feeling, it is a system, and systems do not respond to slogans. They respond to results. Thank you for watching.